The 10th anniversary of WrestleMania returns to where it all began in 1985, Madison Square Garden in New York City. The World Wrestling Federation champion, Yokozuna, must push back the challenge of both Lex Luger and Bret Hitman Hart in order to leave WrestleMania with his title intact. As co-winners of the Royal Rumble, Luger and Hart had earned the WWF Championship opportunity. Because Luger won a coin toss, he would get first crack at the title and go on to face Hart should he win. This opened the door for WWF officials to make an additional match for Bret as he awaits the winner. Bret's brother, Owen Hart, lobbied for weeks to face him in a match, but Bret refused. Finally, as serious tensions began to develop, threatening to drive a wedge through the entire family, Bret would agree. Despite being stripped of the title, Shawn Michaels claimed to be the Intercontinental Champion upon return from suspension. The current champion, Razor Ramon, puts his title on the line as both belts are suspended high above the ring in the first ever ladder match to take place at a WrestleMania event. The Macho Man Randy Savage looks to settle the score with Crush in a Falls Count Anywhere match, while the Quebecers defend the tag team championships against Men on a Mission. Also, women's champion, Alundra Blaze defends her title against Leilani Kai, a mixed tag match between Bam Bam Bigelow and Luna Vachon versus the Clowns, Doink and Dink, and Earthquake goes one-on-one with Adam Bomb. The show opens with a battle of two brothers. Bret Hart is challenged by his younger brother, Owen. They wrestle to a stalemate at first, but Owen celebrates nonetheless. Next, they exchange holds and takedowns until Bret sends Owen flying over the ropes. Owen takes offense and strikes Bret. He also attempts to utilize his athleticism and some hair pulling to assert dominance, but Bret continues to gain the upper hand. The match shifts to shoving, and Bret reciprocates the earlier slap, but Owen soon surprises him with a wheel kick. He sends Bret crashing to the floor and collides him into the post before working on Bret's back. Owen maintains control with various suplexes and even performs a tombstone. However, Owen misses a flying headbutt, leading Bret to execute some of his signature maneuvers. Both competitors manage to counter sharpshooter attempts and they brawl to the outside. Bret then performs a slingshot crossbody, but injures his knee in the process. Owen notices this and strikes the leg, subsequently locking Bret in a figure four. Bret reverses it and delivers a bulldog, a pile driver, and a superplex. He also applies a sleeper hold on Owen, but Owen executes a sneaky low blow and puts Bret in the sharpshooter. Bret manages to reverse it, but Owen reaches the ropes. Then, Bret catches Owen with a boot in the corner and attempts a victory roll, but Owen sits down on him and secures the 3 count. Owen is initially stunned, but he quickly begins to celebrate and even gives Bret the finger. Bret gestures that Owen outsmarted him and even claps after Owen exits. Following this, Todd Pettingill catches up with Owen backstage and inquires about how he's feeling. Owen expresses that he feels fantastic and is on cloud 9. He states that he told everyone he would win, and now he's the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Pettingill asks if Owen believes Bret will be able to compete in the WWF title match. Owen affirms that he takes nothing away from Bret, but after the beating he dished out, Bret won't be able to win the title. The show continues with a mixed tag match between Bam Bam Bigelow and Luna Vachon taking on Doink and Dink. Bam Bam dropkicks and slams Doink, although he fails to connect with a senton splash and an elbow drop. Doink takes advantage of the situation to tag in Dink, who poses a threat to Bam Bam. Luna steps into the match, but Dink gives her a slap on the behind. She retaliates by choking him on the ropes and launching a running attack, but she misses a second attempt. Dink then circles around her until she delivers a kick to his chest. After that, she misses an elbow strike and Dink fails to execute a flying maneuver. Luna tries to splash Dink from the top rope, but she misses that move as well. Dink ultimately tags Doink again, prompting Bam Bam to clothesline him out of the ring, leading Dink to distract Bigelow and Luna to give Doink some breathing room. Doink comes back and makes an attempt at a sunset flip, but Bam Bam sits down on him. Bam Bam then charges at Doink, but he ends up booting Bigelow and performs a DDT. He also goes for the whoopee cushion, but he misses, allowing Bigelow to execute a series of clotheslines. Afterwards, Bam Bam gets momentarily distracted when he encounters Dink on the apron, yet he manages to counter a back suplex. Bigelow takes advantage of this by delivering multiple headbutts both on the mat and from the top rope to attack the victory. Both Bam Bam and Luna attempt a splash, but Dink dodges. Luna successfully lands her splash, while Bigelow fails to connect. Blanc subsequently succeeds in driving them away while he tends to Dink, but then Hail to the Chief starts playing. Vince McMahon appears perplexed on commentary until a Bill Clinton impersonator is revealed in one of the private boxes. The bitter feud between Crush and the Macho Man, Randy Savage, is featured in the next contest. Crush makes his way into the arena alongside Mr. Fuji, but Savage ambushes Crush in the aisle. Crush swiftly takes the lead with a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker and then press slams Randy against the guardrail for the initial pin. Savage crawls back, yet Fuji strikes him with the Japanese flag, and Randy narrowly makes it into the ring before the count. Crush subsequently suspends Savage in a tree of woe and assaults him before Fuji hands Crush some salt. However, Randy sends the salt into Crush's face and executes a flying axe handle. He also slams him and delivers the flying elbow, but he must push him to the mat for the pin. Fuji slaps Crush in an attempt to revive him. It fails, so he pours a pitcher of water on him instead. Crush rolls back inside just in time, but Savage persists with his assault. They brawl to the floor and over the rail, but Crush lands a thrust kick. He then tries for a pile driver, but Savage backdrops him, and they keep fighting. The altercation spills backstage and Savage crashes Crush through a door. He then pins Crush beside a scaffold and turns to walk away, but an idea strikes him. Randy grabs some rope and binds Crush's legs to the scaffold. He hangs Crush upside down and departs. Crush collapses to the floor after a few moments, but this is sufficient to keep him from responding to the count. The WWF Women's Championship was revived in late 1993 in a tournament won by Alundra Blaze, aka Medusa. She defends the title against Leilani Kai in the next bout. Leilani delivers a shoulder block, but Blaze utilizes her speed to catch her off guard with two variations of the sunset flip. Kai retaliates with a choke lift, a headbutt, and a slam, but Alundra counters with a Hurricane Rana. Leilani attempts to stall by throwing Blaze to the outside and then yanks Alundra around by the hair. She follows this up with a butterfly suplex, but Alundra counters with a clothesline, a spin kick, and a vertical suplex. Next, Blaze reciprocates by yanking Leilani around by the hair and catches Kai in a bridging German suplex to secure the victory. Alundra rejoices in her victory while the camera pans to show some legends in the crowd. Moolah, Mae Young, Nikolai Volkov, Lou Albano, and Freddie Blassie all appear to enjoy the festivities. Next, the Quebecers defend the Tag Team Championships against Mabel and Mo, men on a mission. The Quebecers quickly attack and slam Mo to the mat. They team up against Mabel until he counters with a double clothesline. After that, Mo and Pierre officially start the match. Men on a Mission swiftly takes control and double teams Pierre while Lawler humorously remarks that Mabel was baptized at SeaWorld. Jacques illegally enters the ring to halt the assault and then diverts the referee's attention, allowing Pierre to choke Mo with the tag rope. Jacques then backdrops Pierre onto Mo both in the ring and outside. They also execute a double team hotshot on Mo. He nearly makes a tag after executing a rolling kick, but he finally succeeds when Pierre misses a flying leg drop. Mabel clears the ring with a backdrop and a sidewalk slam, but he misses a corner charge. The Quebecers attempt to take advantage with a double suplex but end up injuring their backs and arguing amongst themselves. However, they manage to pull it off on their second attempt. They also execute the cannonball move, but Mabel kicks out at a count of 2. They try to continue with more double teaming, but a miscommunication occurs, and Mo rides on Mabel's back for an assisted splash. Mabel attempts a cover, but the referee is preoccupied with Oscar and Polo's brawl. The match then moves outside the ring, where Men on a Mission performs another assisted splash, but it leads to Pierre being counted out for the defeat. After the match concludes, Men on a Mission take the belts despite not actually winning them. Polo and the Quebecers express their grievances, but they ultimately leave without their titles. The first WWF Championship contest is next. Yokozuna looks to keep his title and defend against Bret Hart later in the night. The contest begins with pushes and strikes until they trade clotheslines. Yokozuna fails to deliver an elbow, allowing Luger to shove him to the mat, where they start brawling. Then, they return to the ring, and Luger performs a flying crossbody followed by an elbow drop. Yokozuna tries to respond, but Luger stops him and attempts a slam. However, he inadvertently falls on top of him. Cornette then distracts the referee, allowing Yokozuna to remove a turnbuckle pad. He does not use it immediately. Instead, he chooses to apply a nerve hold. In reality, he relies on the nerve hold repeatedly. Luger perseveres and fights back until Yokozuna ensnares him in a belly-to-belly and finally opts to exploit the exposed turnbuckle. Nonetheless, Luger counters the move and brings Yokozuna down with clotheslines. He then successfully slams Yoko and executes a running forearm, but Cornette and Fuji both climb onto the apron. Luger drags both of them into the ring and attacks them before attempting a pin. Unfortunately, Mr. Perfect is focused on Fuji and Cornette rather than counting. Luger becomes frustrated and pushes Perfect, which prompts Perfect to signal for the bell. Luger rushes backstage and asks for a valid reason behind Perfect's choice. Perfect responds that you shouldn't put managers in the ring, and you must not engage with an official. Luger charges him with having issue with him and claims his decision is ridiculous. They shout at one another, but officials intervene to stop them from brawling. Adam Bomb rushes to the ring to protect his manager, Harvey Whippleman, from Howard Finkel of all people, but Earthquake trails closely behind him. Bomb warns Fink, but Quake strikes him. Quake performs a belly-to-belly suplex on Bomb and then delivers a power slam. After that, he stomps around the ring and executes the Earthquake splash for a swift win. A ladder match for the Intercontinental title is next, pitting current champion, Razor Ramon, against former, and still claiming to be champion, Shawn Michaels. They exchange reversals and strikes at the outset until Shawn sends Razor crashing to the mat. Diesel performs a clothesline on him, but Earl Hebner spots it and shouts at him. Diesel insists that Earl missed everything, but Hebner isn't having any of that and expels Diesel from ringside. In the meantime, Razor and Shawn tussle both inside and outside the ring, with Razor lifting the mats to reveal the concrete underneath. However, it's Razor who ends up hitting the concrete when Shawn counters a Razor's edge into a backdrop outside the ring. Shawn subsequently grabs the ladder, but Razor intervenes and sets it on the apron. Shawn responds by executing a baseball slide into the ladder, which forces it into Razor's ribs. Shawn also drives it into Razor's stomach and then drops it onto his back. Michaels climbs the ladder next, but Razor halts him by grabbing his tights, revealing Shawn's rear. Michaels kicks him away and delivers an elbow drop before slamming Razor and performing a flying splash from the ladder. Shawn attempts to ascend once more, but Razor pushes the ladder. Ramon eventually gains control following a clash and keeps sending Shawn tumbling to the floor. He strikes him with the ladder and launches him into it before finally climbing for the first time. Nevertheless, Shawn stops him with a flying axe handle. Both competitors then climb, and Razor slams Shawn off the top, but the ladder is unstable. Shawn thwarts another climb attempt by dropkicking the ladder. He then follows up with a superkick and a pile driver before descending the ladder onto Razor's body. Next, Shawn positions the ladder over Razor and ascends, but Ramon knocks it over, causing Shawn to be crouched on the ropes. Unfortunately, his leg gets entangled, and he watches in dread as Razor starts to climb. Shawn tries to free himself, but his arm gets snagged, allowing Razor to grab the belts to win the match and retain the title. The last match of WrestleMania X is the second WWF Championship match of the night. After earlier losing to his younger brother, Bret Hart looks to regain the title from the man he lost it to 1 year ago, Yokozuna, with Roddy Piper as the special guest referee. Yokozuna and Bret exchange blows, but Yokozuna gains the upper hand and slams him down. Yoko continues to thwart Bret's attempts to come back by choking and bending the rules, prompting Piper to issue a warning. Cornette voices his dissatisfaction with Piper, leading Roddy to take a swing at him. Next, Yokozuna fails to connect with a splash, allowing Bret to throw punches, but he injures himself with a headbutt. Ultimately, he manages to bring Yokozuna down with punches and forearms, but Cornette yanks Piper out of the ring during a pin attempt. Roddy has reached his limit and strikes Jim, yet Yokozuna capitalizes on the opportunity and gains control of the match. He delivers a leg drop to Bret, but doesn't attempt a pinfall. Instead, he opts to throw Bret outside the ring, though Bret succeeds in escaping Piper's rapid count. Yokozuna aims to continue his assault, but he misses a corner charge, and Bret executes a bulldog. He follows up with a diving elbow and a clothesline, but Yokozuna catches him in a belly-to-belly suplex. Yokozuna then pulls Bret to the corner for a banzai drop, but he loses his balance and falls onto the back of his head. Bret subsequently covers the stunned Yokozuna for the 3 count. Fireworks erupt as Yokozuna chases Piper to the back. Bret recovers and enjoys his title celebration until Lex Luger makes his entrance. They lock eyes before Luger shakes his hand and lifts his arm. Following that, other wrestlers come in and hoist Bret onto their shoulders. The additional celebrities join in on the celebration. However, Owen Hart then appears from backstage and glares at his brother. He declines to enter the ring and merely murmurs to himself in disbelief that Bret has won. Men on a Mission kept competing against the Quebecers for the Tag Team Championship. They captured the title on March 29, 1994. This reign lasted just 2 days though, as the Quebecers regained the titles in a rematch. Lex Luger and Mr. Perfect were planned to meet one another in a series of contests during the WrestleMania Revenge Tour. However, Crush took Mr. Perfect's place, and Mr. Perfect did not return to the WWF until Survivor Series 1995. Atom Bomb and Earthquake faced off again on an episode of Monday Night Raw, which Earthquake won. The rivalry did not continue any further, as Earthquake departed from the WWF for World Championship Wrestling in May 1994. Harvey Whippleman and Howard Finkel competed in a series of tuxedo matches throughout 1994, culminating in a match nearly a year later on an episode of Monday Night Raw. Finkel triumphed over Whippleman in a final tuxedo match to conclude the feud. A few weeks following the match between Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, Diesel started to challenge Ramon for the Intercontinental Championship. Michaels assisted Diesel in defeating Ramon for the title. Bret and Owen Hart carried on their rivalry throughout 1994. At King of the Ring, their actual brother-in-law and Bret's previous tag team partner, Jim Neidhart, became involved in the storyline by assisting Owen in winning the tournament. During the coronation ceremony, Owen declared that he wished to be known as the King of Hearts. At SummerSlam, Bret successfully defended his championship against Owen in a steel cage match but was assaulted post-match by Owen and Neidhart, leading brother-in-law, British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith to intervene on Bret's behalf. At Survivor Series, the plot involved Owen being largely responsible for Bret losing the WWF Championship to Bob Backlund.